Okay, I have an actually interesting thought for this one. It's not just me talking about what has occurred in sports. It's me thinking about okay. So I was thinking about why I don't like the Chiefs, right? Because they've done nothing wrong. It's not like I hate the people on the team or that I hate the team, really. It's just something about them winning a bunch, right? But I don't always hate winning a bunch, right? A lot of times I like winning a bunch. Like I watch basketball and I'm a LeBron fan. So it's not like I hate winning a bunch. Even though I have people like, oh, it's because LeBron lost. I don't fucking who cares. But here's why I think I do, right? Because also I'm at the point where I don't know if I'm in on the Bills anymore either. And if the Bills were winning a whole lot as much as the Chiefs were, I would dislike the Bills a bunch. But now I'm like, I don't really care about them anymore. It's whatever. Like, they're cool. I like some of their people, but I don't really give a shit anymore. And I think it's like the question of like kind of not exactly, but like the David and Goliath situation where you have a team, like a young team who's new on the block, they're new shit, and they're fighting the dynasty over there, right? And it's like, can they beat the dynasty? Will they do it? And the Chiefs didn't. They did not do it. In 2018, they were in the AFC Championship game. They played the dynasty New England Patriots, who at that point had won 5 Super Bowls, and they lost. And then after that, the dynasty was done. That was it. Because the next year, the Patriots lost in the first round of the playoffs, and Brady left, and the dynasty was over. So the Chiefs didn't, right? And we're at a point where with the Chiefs where this year it was like, okay, the Chiefs are like, I think they were kind of viewed and put in the place of it. They're not a dynasty. They weren't. I think they are. They might be now, but they weren't a dynasty, or they were viewed as a dynasty last year because everybody knows that Mahomes is there for the next 7 years, 7, 8 years, however long it is. And so we know that they're going to be contending, and they're probably going to win at least one more now. They'll probably have at least 3. So when teams play them, they play them, and we view it from the lens of if they're a new team, then they're a new team. Or if they're like an old, I don't know. If they're a new team and they're playing the Chiefs, we view them at this has become the David and Goliath matchup. The Chiefs are now Goliath after in 2018 they were David. However, David didn't beat Goliath. David just stayed around until Goliath disappeared. And I think it's interesting on how personally, I like the Eagles because when I was getting into football was when they had, I think people called them the dream team, even though they didn't win shit ever. But when they had Michael Vick, they had Jeremy Maclin, they had Deshaun Jackson, they had LaShawn McCoy, they had Brent Selleck. It's a great team, really fun team to watch. And when I was young, I was like, they move quick, and I like them. So maybe my view on the Eagles is not going to be the same as it has been for the Chiefs, and it might be for the Bills. Because the Eagles made it to the mountaintop, they went to fight Goliath, and they lost. To be fair, they also kind of got screwed. Not like 100% screwed because they could have lost the game anyways, but whatever. But the Eagles got there to fight Goliath, and they lost. And the Bengals last year beat Goliath, but couldn't finish the story. This year, they lost to Goliath, and again, maybe got screwed. Because Goliath is Goliath and will always be Goliath. So it's an interesting conversation that I think I'm having with myself where the question of what happens to David and how do I feel about the David when he loses, when they lose? Because was it a huge crowning achievement when Mahomes beat like the Titans, who had no business being there and were there because Derrick Henry is ridiculous. And then when he came back in the fourth quarter, like he did come back in the fourth quarter, and that was a very good ending. But like, those Niners haven't won anything. They made it to the Super Bowl and they lost. They were in the NFC Championship game a year ago and they lost. Like, have they won anything? Not really. So, like, when have they beaten a team that's won something? I don't know if they haven't really, because when they played the Patriots, they lost, right? And then in the divisional round of both their Super Bowl wins, they played the fucking Browns, right? That might not be right. I take that back. They played the Browns 2 years ago, I think it was. No, maybe it's not. I don't know. But like they play teams that haven't really won anything, right? And they're just kind of like, and now they have won stuff, so they are Goliath. And you go and like you watch these teams who get as far up as they can. Like the Bills played him in one of the best football games any of us have ever seen, and they lost, right? And so now it's like, well, was that, you know, who really cares anymore, right? See, it wasn't last year they played the Browns. It was the year before. See, there we go. I worked it out. But it's kind of like, who gives a shit? Because, like, who gives a shit unless the Bills beat the Chiefs? And if they get, like, if they're on their third go, it's like, all right, took you a couple tries, though. You had to lose a bunch. And like, obviously, like, they beat them in the regular season. Like, it's not a question about who is the better team or who's doing what. It's just the question of, like, following these teams and appreciating them as, like, those who are kind of playing in a league that has dynasties, because it does. The Chiefs, like, these Chiefs will be remembered. Like, in 20 years, we'll be sitting here talking about stuff, and we're going to go, man, those Mahomes, Andy Reid Chiefs were really good. The Mahomes-Kelsey connection was crazy, right? And we're going to be like, that was a dynasty. And, like, we've known it was a dynasty, right? Obviously, like, it wasn't inherently a dynasty, but we knew it was a dynasty. But then watching these teams, it's like, we're going to be like, well, and I remembered when this dynasty was toppled, right? I remember when they lost. The Patriots dynasty was kind of over by the year that they actually lost, and we kind of knew it was over. It, like, the year before, like, we didn't know. But the year that they lost, we knew they were going to lose, I feel like. Did we? I don't know. But either way, I remember where I was. I remember how I reacted. I remember him being on, like, his own fucking, like, 5-yard line and throwing a pick six as his last throw as a Patriot, I think. And it was fantastic. One of the all-time moment for me. But that team didn't end up getting beaten by a future dynasty. It didn't happen. And the Chiefs had the chance to take down the dynasty and become a new one, and they failed. It's just something interesting. And then I think that if they win that game, like, we can look at them and go, and because they did it. They beat them. We love them. But they didn't. They got there and they lost. And they, yeah, I don't know. That's all. Yeah, they got there and they lost. They have never beaten a team that's won anything. And I think it's an interesting question. On, like, at least for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Did I say I sure? I'm sure I'm not alone. However, I'm alone in a lot of things. Maybe I am. But for me, that might be part of it. I'm not sure if it is. I think it is, because it's similar with the Bills. like and just like being high on a team because they're young and they're new and they are going up and they are facing the big team, right? The team that everyone knows is great and everyone knows is here to stay. And they went to play them, and if they lose, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you. Bye. Mwah.